Yes! We are now going to invite onto stage the national leader of Ruimsig Mzansi, Songezo Zibi. I rise, I rise, I rise, I rise, we rise, we rise, rise Mzansi rise, rise Mzansi rise, rise Mzansi rise, rise Mzansi rise, I rise, I rise, we rise, Amandla! 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 Matla! 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 Matimba! Matimba! Rise Mzansi rise! Rise Mzansi rise! I rise! I rise! I rise! We rise! We rise! We rise! Thank you. Diabulel. Thank you. Paya danki. Dialebo. He can seal. He can seal a swinen. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing that a better South Africa is possible. Thank you for believing in your own ability to change South Africa. Thank you for not listening to the doubters. Thank you for not listening to those who say it cannot be done. Thank you for not listening to those who say you are wasting your time. Because you are not wasting your time. You are investing your time. You are investing your time in the future of South Africa. You are investing your time in the real freedom. You are investing your time in a safe, prosperous, equal, and united South Africa in one generation. Thank you for knowing that you are the leaders we have been waiting for. You are the future of South Africa. Thank you for not listening to those people who say we are wasting their time. But they waste their time watching everything we do so they can criticize it. They know we are marching forward. They know we are moving forward. The reason they snipe at us is because they can see that we are making progress. They are afraid. They are afraid. The guilty are afraid because they know their time is up. And their time is up. And the end of their time begins in this election on the 29th of May, when thousands of us turn up to elect new leaders. So thank you. Thank you for braving the hot sun. Thank you for coming all the way. And I also want to thank those South Africans yesterday and the day before who traveled long distances to go and vote for Ruimsig Mzansi in Tokyo, in Canberra, in Hong Kong, in Shanghai, in Beijing, in London, in New York, in Washington, D.C., in Paris, in Belgium, in The Hague, in Germany. Thank you to all of you, because Rise Mzansi is here. We have votes on the scoreboard. We have votes on the scoreboard. Just over a year ago, there was no Rise Mzansi. Today, there is a Rise Mzansi, with voters all over the world, with organizers and volunteers in all 9 provinces. So thank you, because this is your work, this is your sweat, this is your dedication, this is your time, and it is paying off, and it is going to pay off for all South Africans, not just for you. Fellow risers, fellow South Africans, as I stand here today before thousands of risers, I find it astonishing how far we have come in so short a time. It is a sign to me of how urgent and necessary our mission is, and how strong the momentum is for real hope and change in our beautiful country. It was just over a year ago that we announced Rise Mzansi. Since then, we have been traveling the country, holding meetings in community halls, in people's garages, in boardrooms, under trees, in fields. And we heard one thing over and over again. You told us that we need new leaders. You told us that the old leaders are tired. You told us that the old leaders are corrupt. You told us that the old leaders have run out of ideas. You told us the old leaders have lost touch with the people, that they are only interested in their own power and their own stomachs. And so we decided to take a leap of faith. You decided to take a leap of faith. And all of us gathered here today took this leap of faith. The leaders, the candidates, the organizers, and the amazing Rise Mzansi volunteers. Today we have supporters all over the country, hundreds of thousands of supporters. And we have voters all over the world. Rise Mzansi has voters all over the world. Yesterday, a South African who lives in the United Kingdom, Liam, told us he drove 8 hours and stood 4 hours in the queue to cast his ballot for Rise Mzansi. Because nothing and no one is going to stand between him and change, between us and change, and the country that we all deserve. We have voters enough to carry us in numbers into parliament. Some of our supporters have already voted for Rise Mzansi. Like I said, from Dar es Salaam to New York, from New York to Cairo, from Cairo to London, from London to Dubai, from Dubai to Oslo. Some of you gave up your jobs. All of you gave up your time. And we put our hope in something new, something that might change South Africa. We became the new leaders we need. We became the new leaders we deserve. We collected the tens of thousands of signatures we needed to be on the ballot nationally and in all 9 provinces, so that we could bring our vision of hope and change to South Africa. We came together to draft our People's Manifesto, where we committed ourselves to South Africa's constitutional values. We committed ourselves to freedom. We committed ourselves to equality. We committed ourselves to integrity. We committed ourselves to solidarity. We committed ourselves to justice. We committed ourselves to fight for a safe, prosperous, equal, and united South Africa in one generation. We did not just get here anyhow. We went through a transparent and robust process of selecting the best possible candidates from right across the country. Candidates with roots and respect in their communities. Candidates who are fresh in politics, who are young and understand what's needed for the future, but who have deep experience in the community, in various organizations, and in business. We have candidates from all walks of life to create a truly non-racial movement. These are our new leaders, and they are with me here on stage. But when I say we are the new leaders we need, I'm not just talking about those who are sitting on stage. I mean all of you who are present here today. Together, we have been on a fulfilling journey. It's been a hard journey, but it's been fulfilling. We have crisscrossed the country over the past few weeks. We have been in Emalahleni. We have been in KwaMashu. We have been in Botshabelo. We have been in Macau. We have been in Zwelicha. We have been in Mitchell's Plain. We have been to Atteridgeville, to Skirlek, to Alex, to Orange Farm, and many other communities across the country. And now we are here, thousands of us rising together, rising to choose hope over fear, rising to choose action over apathy, rising to take control of our destiny, rising to take back the future from the tired old leaders, the corrupt old leaders of the tired old, corrupt old political parties. We are rising to work together for equality, for the prosperity, the freedom that we know we can achieve in one generation if we work hard and we work with our communities. And when I say we are the new leaders we need, I don't mean the people present here today. I mean all of you watching on this on your screens. I mean every South African who cares, who wants the best for themselves and their communities and their neighbors and our nation. I come here today not as a prophet of doom, like some leaders who talk about a doomsday coalition. I stand here as a messenger of hope. I know we can do it, and I'm here to tell you how we can begin to walk along this road together towards the transformation that was promised in 1994, but was never delivered. Towards a people's parliament, towards a people's government, towards a people's presidency, towards a democracy that is truly of the people, for the people, and by the people. "30 years ago, I was 18 years old when I voted for the first time at the Mthatha Town Hall. I was fresh out of school, and in 1994 was a new beginning for me in more ways than one. I was now an adult, expected to take on greater responsibilities in my family and in my community. It was a real honor to exercise my newly earned right to vote responsibly. It had been a very few hard years. Like many South Africans, I had lost family and friends to political violence and state-sponsored killings. So standing in that queue was bittersweet. I reflected on the thousands who died during our struggle for liberation with sadness that they never saw the promised land. I wish they could see the fruits of their work. At the same time, I was very excited, just like everyone else. We were excited at the prospect that with the simple act of placing an X next to the party of our choice, we would usher in profound change and transformation in South Africa. We were excited that South Africa would finally become peaceful and the people would live in safe communities, free of violence. I put my cross next to the face of Madiba. Today, 30 years later, I'm getting ready to vote, again with a mixture of sadness and excitement. I am deeply sad that 30 years into democracy, we are so far from our promised land. Actually, I am not just sad. I am angry too. I am angry at the way the promise has been broken. I am angry at the way the dream of freedom, equality, and dignity of democracy has been deferred because of the way the old leaders from the old parties have squandered the mandate we have given them. The way they have broken our trust. And so, here we are, 30 years later, with millions of South Africans going into this election with fear for their lives and for the future. Our objective as Rise Mzansi is to turn that fear into hope and to turn that hope into actual transformation. Here we are in a country where no one feels safe. On the street, at work, and in our homes. We need new leaders to turn this country around. Rise Mzansi has a new and workable plan to make our criminal justice work. We will reduce the murder rate in 3 years. The experts tell us this is absolutely doable with the right policies and the right leaders of the South African Police Service. Let us kick out the cronies, the ineffectuals, the corrupt. Let us put the clean and the efficient ones in. Here we are in a country where too many can't put food on the table, where unemployment is at over 41%. That means almost half of all South African working age adults do not have work. This is higher than it was 15 years ago. It is worse than it was 15 years ago. Here we are, in a country where young people complete school and training and still depend on parents who have given everything to make sure they get an education. Where graduates stand on street corners in their academic year, begging for work instead of working. We need new leaders to turn this around. Rise Mzansi has a real and workable plan to help single mothers and all parents by doubling the child care grant. We have a real and workable plan that will enable mothers to earn skills, to find work and earn an income, because their communities will have fully equipped daycare and ECD centers staffed by trained people from within the community. We have a real and workable plan to make government employment available to all people, not just those under the age of 35. Rise Mzansi has a real and workable plan to make our economy work again so that it provides jobs to millions of South Africans who currently sit without jobs. We will do this to begin with by raising 300 billion rand in 3 years through a wealth tax and setting up a national growth fund that will repair our ailing infrastructure and create jobs at the same time. This is nothing less than a new deal for South Africa, and we all know that we need it. We are certain that with the right political leadership, everyone will come on board. Here we are in a country where basic services are too often no longer provided, where the trains no longer run, the taps run dry, and the lights no longer work. Rise Mzansi, your Rise Mzansi, has a real and workable plan to fix the basics so that the economy can work again. Our local government, our electricity, and our water, and our railways, and our ports, and the security situation in the country. Rise Mzansi has a real and workable plan to ensure that all South Africans have access to clean water and sanitation, to ensure that water does not replace electricity as a crisis that paralyzes South Africa in the coming months and years. This is a crisis that could literally kill us. We have a real and workable plan to put tens of thousands of young people into training so they can get a living wage jobs as we invest in local and regional infrastructure and put solar panels on the roof of every home in South Africa. Fellow South Africans, fellow risers, as we look at these problems, 30 years into democracy, it is important to state loudly and categorically that none of them happened by accident. None of them are the consequence of a natural disaster. Of course, South Africa is a complicated place with deep inequality, and of course, the global economy is volatile. But we must look the truth squarely in the eye. The problems we face are the result of leaders who are not fit to govern, not fit to lead, not fit to unite South Africans, not fit to inspire us in our darkest hour of need. And so we ask you to vote Rise Mzansi on May 29. We are not entitled to your vote, but we ask you with a commitment to serve you. We ask you to send the representatives you have chosen to Parliament so that they can show what it means to be new leaders with values, new leaders with vision, new leaders with commitment, new leaders with a plan. We need new leaders who will work to bring all South Africans together instead of driving us apart. For too long, we have been divided in this country, and the cost of divisive politics has done great damage to the progress we could have made. We need new leaders who will bring transparency to government procurement, who will prosecute the corrupt and implement hiring practices that the South African people can trust. We need new leaders who pledge to be accountable, to be available, to bring dignity and seriousness back into politics, to bring love and care back into government. Leaders who have love and respect for every South African and for every community. We need new leaders who really will heal the divisions of the past, as the Constitution tells us to do, and will establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. This means recommitting ourselves to fight for the dignity of every South African. It means acknowledging that every South African has right to a piece of land or a house to build a life and home for their children. It also means fighting for the non-racialism that is a core value of our Constitution, and insisting that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, regardless of race, class, gender, sexual orientation, or geographical location. There are parties that are campaigning to win votes by sowing a politics of fear and division. They might appeal to a small section of South Africans with this strategy, but it is no way to build a nation. It is no way to build hope. It is no way to forge the common purpose we so desperately need. Fellow South Africans, I come here today with a pledge and with a plan. We pledge to make a People's Parliament a reality. As soon as we get to Parliament, we will begin advocating for a constitutional amendment to change our electoral system so that at least 50% of elected representatives are directly elected and are accountable to a constituency of voters, not this circus that we have now, where the people represent their stomachs and represent their pockets and represent the pockets of their friends. We will implement citizens' assemblies composed of ordinary South Africans, drawn by civic lottery to formulate recommendations to Parliament that will have to be taken into consideration. This already happens in many other countries, but does not happen here because we have leaders who do not want to listen to the people, who do not want to be accountable. We will make it happen so that we can be true to the Constitution, which calls for participatory democracy. When we get to Parliament, we will work tirelessly to make sure that government is held accountable for every penny of your money that it spends, and will be accountable to you, the voters, the citizens of South Africa. And when we become part of a new government, we will make sure that it is a people's government. We will do this by ending cadre deployment and implementing a culture of management and leadership excellence, by making sure that procurement is clean and transparent so that we deny Amasela the opportunity to steal our money the way they are doing now. We need zero tolerance for corruption in South Africa. And we need to start right at the top with the people who hide thousands of dollars in their couches, and they then turn around and tell us they are going to fight corruption. They think we are stupid, We are looking at them. We can see what they do, and we know that they are lying to the South African people. Rise Mzansi is ready to serve. We are ready to serve you by governing the way the Constitution demands, but in the way that has been forgotten and disregarded by these old, tired leaders, the corrupt old leaders who are taking our country backwards and stealing the future of our children. I and every Rise candidate you are sending to provincial legislatures, to Parliament, will make the pledge that I will read to you now. This is the Rise Mzansi pledge. These are my ABCs, and they are the ABCs of every candidate. In the coming week, every candidate will sign this pledge in front of members of their community, just as I am going to do just now when I finish speaking. The pledge says, I pledge to be accessible and accountable. I pledge to be brave and busy. I pledge to be cooperative, consultative, and clean. I will be accessible. You will always be able to find me. In fact, I will find you. There will be no blue lights between you and me. Just an open door. I will be accountable. I will report back to you. I will use every single one of my mandated constituency days in my constituency, and I will also give formal quarterly report backs in public meetings. I will be brave. I will not cower before the powerful, be they in government or in business. I will ask the tough questions, and I will demand clear answers on your behalf. I will be busy. I will work tirelessly in Parliament to hold the government accountable to you, the people, and to introduce policies and laws that will bring about a safe, prosperous, equal, and united South Africa in one generation, in one generation, in one generation. 30 years is too long. We cannot wait another 30 years. We cannot wait another 30 years. We cannot make our children wait 30 years. The time to act is now. I will work tirelessly in government to make sure that the public administration is run properly by competent leaders and that services are delivered efficiently. This means fixing the basics so that we fight joblessness, we fight crime, we fight disease, we fight hunger. I will be cooperative. I will work together with my team in the Rise Mzansi caucus. And we will work together with our communities and with other members of Parliament or members of provincial legislatures. We will work with anyone who puts ethics, public service, community interest, and social justice first. I will be consultative. I will consult you on all significant laws and policies and find new ways to deliberate with you, the people, on what is best for our nation. I will be clean, I will be ethical, and I will never ask for kickbacks, favor family members, or do anything corrupt. I will submit voluntarily to lifestyle audits and make these findings public. And we challenge those thieves who own big houses, who wear Gucci bags, Louis Vuitton clothes and shoes, to tell us where they get the money when all they supposedly do, they are supposed to represent the South African people. Where do they get the money to fly first class with their girlfriends to Dubai while South Africans are hungry? They need to tell us. The only reason they don't tell us where they get the money is because they know they are guilty. And the guilty are afraid of the light of transparency. That's why they don't tell us. That's why they must go. That's why we must get rid of them. And that's why 29th of May is so important. We must hold those in government to the same standards. Fellow South Africans, fellow risers, in 1994, we were promised a democracy for the people and by the people. This promise has been betrayed. 30 years later, only 30 years later, our level of trust for politicians is at its lowest ever. We are your Rise Mzansi candidates. We are of the people, by the people, and for the people. We are standing for election to earn back this trust. That is the Rise Mzansi pledge. I know that life is hard. I know that days seem like weeks, weeks seem like months, and months feel like years, and a year can feel like a lifetime because of the severe and terrible conditions that these corrupt leaders have put our families, our children, our young people, our mothers and our fathers. But this is not the time to despair. This is not the time to be discouraged. This is not the time to give up. It is a time to rise up. It is a time to stand together. It is a time to fight. It is a time to get the South Africa we deserve. It is a time to remove these people from power. It is a time to fight each and every day to deliver the future we were promised in 1994. It is a time to make our heroes, our brave warriors who fought for our freedom from colonial days to 1994, to show them that we remain committed to the goal of freedom, to the goal of justice, to the goal of a fair society, to the goal of a just society, to the goal of a government that works for everyone, to the goal of a society that cares, to the goal of a politics of love, of compassion. They may laugh at us. They may laugh at us. They may laugh at what we do. But the evidence is here for them to see. Last year, there was no Rise Mzansi. Last year, there was no Rise Mzansi. Today, you have Rise Mzansi from Mpumalanga to the Western Cape, from the Northern Cape to KZN, in the Free State, in the Eastern Cape, in KZN, and in Mpumalanga, and in Gauteng, in the Northern Cape, in the Northwest. Today, Rise Mzansi is everywhere. Rise Mzansi is growing. They have neither the credibility nor the language to have this conversation with the South African people that we are having. So when you leave here today, when you go home, when you go to your places of work, when you go to your places of worship, when you go to your community organizations, when you go to your sports clubs, you must take a message of hope. You must tell everybody that you meet that hope has come to South Africa, that Rise Mzansi has come to South Africa, that the dawn of a new day has come to South Africa, that the promised land is looming over the horizon, that the South Africa that we promised will be here within one generation. We must tell them that those who are powerful, that who think they are untouchable, who think they cannot go to jail, one day they will stand in the dock in handcuffs and we will send them to prison for a long time. So they have got enough years to think about every life that they have caused in South Africa. Every bit of suffering that they are causing today to every South African. We must not give up. We must never give up. We must never give up. After this election, as soon as this election is done, we are getting down to work because 2026 is here. We are going to remove every thief out of every council, out of every province in South Africa. We are going to get them out, and we are going to use the money of the South African people in the way that money is supposed to be used. We cannot give up now. We can see the promised land, and we are the people to deliver it. And when they ask you who will deliver that promised land, you must tell them, I will deliver that promised land. And one day, you might ignore me now, you will be forced to look me in the eye and say, I'm sorry. And when I do that, we will still send you to prison. There will be no forgiveness. There will be no amnesty. There will be no amnesty for anyone who has caused a child to go to bed hungry, who has caused a child to go to a school with no windows, to drown in a pit latrine. We cannot forget what these people are doing today to the future of South Africa, to the lives of South Africans. We are the people that are going to hold them accountable. We are the ones we have been waiting for. And when we are done with them, they will understand and know very well what happens when you piss off the South African people. On 29th of May, there are 3 ballots. Ballot number 1, Rise Mzansi. Ballot number 2, Rise Mzansi. Ballot number 3, ballot number 1, ballot number 2, ballot number 3. I rise, I rise, I rise, we rise, we rise, we rise, I rise, I rise, we rise, we rise, rise Mzansi, rise, rise Mzansi, rise, rise Mzansi, rise. Thank you. Hello, Dana. Thank you. And so to my right here is the Rise Mzansi pledge. And unlike the thieves who cannot tell us who their premier candidates in every province are, I am going to sign this pledge in front of all of you, followed by our premier candidates, preceded by our premier candidates. Thank you. Chair. You go first. All right, let me go first. My leader. Thank you. Tsoha, 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 tsoha. Tsoha, tsoha, tsoha. Songezo ubatla maraiza. Hayaya. Songezo ubatla maraiza. Hayaya. Riri tsoha, tsoha, tsoha. Tsoha, tsoha, tsoha. Hayaya. Vuyiswa ubatla maraiza. Hayaya. Vuyiswa ubatla maraiza. Hayaya. Rere tsoha, tsoha, tsoha. Hayaya. Rere tsoha, tsoha, tsoha. Akolile ubatla maraiza. Hayaya.
Maraiza. Hey, Rere tsuga, tsuga, tsuga. Hey, tsuga, tsuga. Nonkululeko ubatla Maraiza. Hey, tsuga, tsuga. Nonkuleko ubatla Maraiza. Hey, tsuga, tsuga. I rise. I rise. We rise. Leaders, thank you very much. That is the end of our program. We appreciate your commitment and your discipline. This fight is not going to be easy, and you've demonstrated that you are up for the challenge. We are here for 20 years. For 3 hours in the sun is not nothing to us. We are going to fight and deliver victory. We will fight to deliver victory for Ruimsig Mzansi. Leaders, there is food that's going to be made available by the entrance where the gazebos are. Please allow the elderly to have access to food first. Please let the elderly and children have access to food first. There is enough food for everybody to eat. There will be entertainment for people to enjoy themselves. Thank you very much, leaders. 10 days to go. Let's go out there. Let's mobilize. Let's make sure on the 29th of May, we deliver victory for Ruimsig Mzansi.